All right, welcome back to another video. This is going to be part two of my beginner stock portfolio series. I guess I'm going to do here. I don't know exactly what I'm going to try to grow the account to, but basically we're starting out with a $7,000 account. This is a real account. It's already got stocks in it. It's things I've been kind of doing over the years. But we're going to actually put a little bit more purpose to it, and we're going to try to grow it. It's not one of those, oh, look at my $42,000 or my $1 million portfolio and look at all the dividends I can get. This one's going to be more realistic. If you have a smaller account, you just have a couple $1,000s, it kind of will give you an idea of kind of what you can expect. Because what a lot of people don't know or don't realize early on is that dividends is the long game. It's nothing where you're going to put in money, you're going to be a millionaire in the next 2 years. Like these are kind of things that it's going to take some time. And in general, I wouldn't say dividends is the best option to become a millionaire, but it can definitely help you save up some money to maybe invest in real estate or a house or a new business, something like that. So, to kind of continue on what we talked about in the last video, in this video, I'm going to talk about options a little bit, as this is a great way. Once again, not foolproof, not 100% free money. You still have to put a little strategy to it, but it's not really something where you lose money. And I'll explain that here in a little bit.
Thing that is very important. If you have a smaller account like me, right? You don't have the 40,000, 50,000. Even if you just had $500 in your account, right? There's a such thing you can activate on your account that's called options, right? And it's kind of scary, but it's kind of not. So I'm gonna just give you the very plain basics that I can. And I would you say medical properties trust is something that's cheaper, and it's one of those things that if you have a smaller account that you might could use. Now, if you only have $500, it's not going to work because bare minimum you need 100 shares of whatever stock it is. Not every stock has options on it. Like this one right here, I have 100, but there is no options. Most whatever you're on, you should be able to click on it and go to the options chain and kind of do some stuff with that. But I recommend Fidelity just because I feel like it's very easy. M1 Finance is another one I hear a lot. I want to say one of them also does crypto if you're into that. But anyway, just to kind of like explain it for you, you need 100 shares, right? So I got 382. But for every essentially strategy you do, you have to have 100. So in this case, this is 900 or $9.19. So basically do that times 100. So you would need $919 to have 100 of these. So if your account's only 500, this one wouldn't work. You would need to find something that's about $5 and kind of go that route. But let's just check this out here. So
All right, here is the options chain for medical properties trust. Now, this is a very busy page. There's a lot of information on here, but it really breaks down to 3 to 4 different things. I'll make it real simple for you. So there's calls, there's puts, then there's the dates. So for example, you can see here June 23rd, that's 5 days away. There's June 30th, 12 days away, so on and so forth, right? So that is essentially the date that your option would execute if it's valid. You have calls, you have puts. Calls is if something's going up or you think something's going to go up. Puts is when you think something's going to go down. So as you can see, it's basically just the same thing over and over and over again. There are a whole bunch of different strategies that are wrapped in this. As you can see here, we have calls, puts, buy rights, butterfly, calendar, collar, combo, etc., etc. But if you're new, I wouldn't recommend you mess with any of that. Just stick with calls and puts. So one of the reasons I like Fidelity is it has this option trade builder. So you click this, you get a window that pops up. You got to select which portfolio you want to use. I'll just use my main one. You could have multiple, depending on kind of how you have your account set up. But there's really 3 different things. You got bullish, got a picture of a bull, got neutral, think it's going to stay the same, and you got bear, you think it's going to go down. So depending on what you want to do with the stock or what you think the stock's going to do, you click on the option you want. If you think it's bullish, I'd like to stick with covered calls. That's kind of like my little bit of bread and butter. And this is what I want to talk about as a great way for you to make some more money. So as you can see, a covered call is created by owning 100 shares of a security or a stock. Then you have the option basically to sell it. You get a premium back and that goes straight to your account. So this is what I mean when I say you can basically get money. Now, the important thing there is you need 100 shares. Doesn't work if you got 98. Doesn't work if you got 50. Doesn't work if you just happen to have $100. Has to be 100 shares. All right. So once you get to here, you got to select basically which account you want it on. And then you're going to see something that's very familiar to the other page. You basically have an expiration date, which this can go out much further than like 1 week, 2 week. This literally, depending on how active the stock is, can go out multiple years. Like this one can go all the way to 2025 if that's what you want to do. You have a strike price here, which is the price you basically want the option to execute at, or at least you're setting it to execute at. It's not necessarily the one you want, but it's what you've chosen that will make you the most money. Then down here, it's just a little bit of a breakdown. It's basically saying, hey, on June 23rd, I'm okay with this executing at $8 and give me this amount of money. Now, you do get this up front, but this is kind of your benchmark of what you're basing everything on. So that's really how this screen works out. So if you were trying to sell your stock, you already have it, you're doing a covered call, you're essentially saying, I'm okay with on let's pick this June 7th, right? If you're saying I'm okay with selling this at 9.5 on June 7th if Medical Properties Trust is above 9.5. So here's the one and only way you can lose money. You are locked in to this number. Once you fully accept this, if Medical Properties Trust goes up to, let's say, 960, you have to sell it at 950. So you're going to lose 10 cents times 100 shares. That's the only scenario where you're losing money. But if you bought it below 950, you're still making money, if that makes any sense. The other reason why you would make money in that scenario is this 23 cents here. This 23 cents is paid to you as a premium. So you get it times 100. So you're going to get $23 up front. And then, and so really, that's really what you got to determine at the end of the day is, do you think that this will essentially be above 9.5 plus 23? So you're really basically saying 973. If you think it's going to be higher than that, then you're definitely losing money. And the reason why I say you're kind of not losing money in the other scenario is most of the time you weren't going to sell it at 9.6 anyway. It just would have sat there and then you would have done some other stuff. Now, here's the beauty of this. You get that money. Once Friday hits, you essentially are forced to sell your 100 shares, right? Even if it was 960, you're selling it at 9.5. You're getting this 23 cents times 100 on the day you place this, so not even when it closes. And then you have all that money sitting in your account. You could turn around, put it on something else. You could send it to your bank account. You could turn around and rebuy Medical Properties Trust if you want. You can do whatever you want at the end of the day. So as long as essentially whatever number you pick is above the number you bought it at, you're still making money. Here's the other thing. What if it's below 9.5? So let's say it's still down here somewhere, right? Let's say it ends at 9.4. Medical Properties Trust 9.4. Well, you still get that 23 cents times 100 shares that you originally got, $23. And guess what? You don't have to sell your shares. In fact, you just get to keep your 100 shares. You still get to keep the money, and the next week you can do it all over again. And this is how you make money. So just think about this. That's $23, right? You're basically going to make off of this 100 shares. So essentially, let's say in this scenario, you'd have $918. You're going to make $23 just off of doing this one thing, right? And this is of course, this is like 2 weeks out. But you could even do this scenario where you're just doing 8 cents. That's $8 you would get in that scenario, right? Well, then do 8 times 4 is $32. So $32 per month for 100 shares. Then do that times 12. I don't know the math of that in my head, but it's over $100. And more importantly, that money you could also just use to buy more shares. So if you did $8, you can basically buy an additional share every single week. So it's 4 additional shares a month. That's 12 shares. It just adds out. It creates a real compounding effect to your account. And this is a great way to grow your small account to a bigger account. Because, if you've messed with dividend stocks in the past, what you're getting 15% a year, 12%, 4%, something like that. By doing this, you essentially got 1% right off the bat. It would need to be $9 for it to really be 1%, but you know what I'm saying. Through compounding, you're basically getting 1% a month or 1% a week, and then close to 4% a month. So you're already beating what the general dividend is going to give you. And because you're buying more shares, you'll get more dividends and you can kind of compound and grow your account that way. All right, so let's talk about the other side of the coin. So earlier, when we were checking out the trade builder, under bullish, there's really three options. There was buying calls, which is not what I'm talking about in this scenario. There was cover calls, which is the bread and butter. And then there's cash cover puts. So cash cover puts is kind of the other side of the coin, if you will. So think in the first scenario, let's say it was executed and you were forced to sell your 100 shares. You get to keep your premium, but now you have all this money in your account. But let's say you do want to get back into medical properties trust. Well, you could just turn around and buy the shares at the current price and just say, okay, well, I'm back in. I'll keep my 23 cents times 100 and you can keep moving. And that's totally a valid. There's a few reasons why I would say to do that. One of them could be a dividend that's coming up. You don't really want to waste time. You're going to make sure everything is in your account and ready to go. But if that's not really the case, what you also could do is the cash cover put. And as I was saying earlier, I kind of look at it as the other side of the coin because what you're essentially saying is, I will buy this stock if it is above this certain price, right? So it's kind of the flip side of it. So now, if you basically say, well, I'll do 8.5, if it's anywhere near up here, it's basically going to be executed. You also get premium. So you're getting money to buy the stock to essentially have this, but you're forced to buy it. It's kind of like the flip. But in the other scenario, you already had to sell it for a certain amount of money. So you already have the money in your account. So essentially, you can create a little bit of a wheel strategy where, okay, I don't have it. You can collect some premium once it's executed. Then you do cover calls. If that gets executed, you have the money back in your account. You do another cash cover put, and you just keep going that way. So doing things like this are great ways to grow your account, and you never really lose money. Like I said, the only scenario where you're losing money is if the stock just goes wildly away from where it's supposed to be. Actually, I'm lying. There is one scenario where you can truly lose money. All right, so the moment everyone has been waiting for. What is the really only downside? And there's only one I can think of, right? So we're going to go back to the trade builder real quick, but we're just going to go down here to this potential loss, right? So one scenario that can happen, right? You are saying you will buy or sell a particular stock at a certain price. So if you say, I will sell this to you at $9 and it'll be this amount of stock. And let's say the stock tanks. Let's say it drops to zero. You essentially cannot do what it's asking you to do. So when I really think about it, the real easiest way to sum this up would be to say, if you have signed a contract essentially saying you will sell something at a particular price or you will buy something at a particular price, but then that stock goes down to zero, you essentially can't do what you said you could do. And that can be something that would wreck your account because it'll multiply the amount of money you have to spend or things like that. So one thing that everyone says with this is don't use stocks that you don't believe in. Don't just pick the high whatever high yielding thing. Like if you wanted to pick something that you truly believed in, like an Apple or a Tesla or Samsung or whatever it is that you're passionate about, go with that. Don't just go with, I don't know, Alibaba just because you see everybody else doing it. Do something that you like. All right, so that's going to be all for this one. I'm thinking about starting a new series with this small account. I know a lot of people like those where people kind of give updates on what they were buying, how much dividends they were getting, and the overall health of a particular account. But one thing I've seen is most of those videos often show accounts with $40,000 in them, 50,000, $1 million, things that really just aren't attainable for the everyday person. So I think I'm going to put my hat in the ring on this and put out a video or a series of videos on this small account as we try to grow it. I think I have some money coming, so we might do something interesting with it, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching the video. In case you didn't know, I's a hobo. Later.